want to thank everyone so much for this remarkable opportunity and privilege. I first want to thank my beautiful family for their support and their patience, and for any of us who do this, and for many of you in the audience who have participated in public life, you know that the greatest commitment and the greatest sacrifice is by our families, and they truly deserve the greatest applause. My greatest pride and joy, and I know for my wife and I, is watching our 3 children and watching them grow. It's been a remarkable gift to us. They have been a political family through no choice of their own. I was elected in 1995, and my oldest daughter was born in 1998. My twins were born in 2000. They have experienced their entire life this remarkable gift that we call democracy, and I'm very proud of them and very proud that they've had a chance to watch this. So. Being elected majority leader is a remarkable honor, but the greatest title that I have is husband and father. My children are a constant reminder of the work that we must do, and I thank you for keeping me humble and keeping me motivated to work every day to make New Jersey a better place for you and for children like you. Today I step to this podium for my 12th term in this great house, the People's House, and my 4th term as the Assembly Majority Leader. I remember the values that we have fought for: real tax relief for the middle class, rebuilding an economy mired in a recession, common sense, gun safety, meaningful equality for all residents, and a better future for all of us who call New Jersey home. I remember the victories, the lives that were improved, the jobs that were created, the communities made safer, and the slow but steady progress towards equal justice for all, done in a bipartisan effort with people on the stage and people who've served before. But I do not step to this podium today to dwell in memory, but instead to keep our eyes in the past would be a grievous mistake. Because today we find ourselves in a difficult moment in history, perhaps more difficult than any that we have faced in decades or in the last century. Today, across our nation, we face a reactionary cynicism and a rising hatred and intolerance. There are those who seek to pit one against the other, whether it be based on the color of our skin, our religion, our immigration status, our socioeconomic background, our sex, or our gender identity. I have always believed in using the power of the spoken word to lift people up. The words, I believe, are powerful tools. There are those who believe that shared social media posts are more important than our shared values, and that the power of those words are lost in a 140-character tweet. Think for a moment of these words from Robert F. Kennedy. There are those that look at things the way they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask why not. Ladies and gentlemen, patriotism is not a contest to see who can yell the loudest or land the best soundbite. There are those who see the path to the future ahead and want to reverse course, to undo the progress that we have made here in New Jersey. Let us dream big, and let us challenge ourselves to ask why not. Here in New Jersey, I say to you today, we are not going to go backwards. We will not take a single step back. Our future and the dreams of our children lie ahead of us. In New Jersey, we will continue to move forward, no matter the difficulty of the path before us or the challenges that we face. When I say there are those that would like to take us back, this is not some abstract idea. Just weeks ago, Washington passed a tax bill. National financial experts say that New Jersey will be the hardest hit state in our country. Out of a 12-member congressional delegation made up equally of Republicans and Democrats, only 1 member thought this bill was a good idea for New Jersey. We know from studies that it will devastate New Jersey's middle class and working families. We know that it will put affordable health care out of the reach for millions across this country. We know it will exasperate our state's unfair and unconscionable property tax burden. The reports are unanimous. The biggest benefit will go to the smallest few, while at the same time evidence shows that it will stagnate New Jersey's economy. We know it will strain the ability of thousands of New Jerseyans to make ends meet. These families who will be affected, they don't care about partisan blame games. They are making decisions. How will I put food on my table? How will I pay my property taxes? How will I give my children an opportunity that they deserve? And when they are sick and suffering, how will I make them better? In a very real sense, the tax cuts from Washington, while intended to create prosperity, and very well may for 45 out of our 50 states, while the jury remains undecided, in New Jersey, we know it creates a crisis. I believe that this crisis, once and for all, presents New Jersey with an opportunity. The fact that our highest in the nation property tax system must be overhauled is lost on no one in this room who has served in government. In 1977, when my mother, Maria Barnaby Greenwald, was elected the first woman to serve as mayor of Cherry Hill, her inauguration speech that day focused on the fear of her parents and her in-laws being unable to stay and live near their grandchildren because of the crushing burden of property taxes. That was 1977. It is 2017. We continue to have the same debate. This system is a decades-old problem that stifles our ability to compete with neighboring states. We know this system has formed the root of so many of our state's other economic and public policy challenges. For those of us on this dais who have served for years, we have made public policy decision after public policy decision that was intended to mitigate the impact of property taxes, only to ultimately pay more for the same services that we had years ago with less quality and less outcomes. The time for meaningful property tax reform in New Jersey is long overdue. And as we enter this legislative session with new leadership and a new governor, we must have the tough conversations about how we move forward New Jersey together in a bipartisan fashion. We need tax reform that encourages investment in our communities, tax reform that makes New Jersey an affordable place to raise a family, tax reform that makes New Jersey a desirable place for our seniors to retire and live, tax reform that empowers our younger residents and sets them on a path to succeed, tax reform that helps those who need it the most, the middle class, working families, the backbone of our state. In this challenging moment, New Jerseyans must lead the way, not Democrats or Republicans, but a bipartisan effort on this issue and so many others. My oldest daughter, Lauren, just completed the first semester of her sophomore year at college. She dreams to move back to New Jersey after graduation. But as her father, I worry whether or not she will be able to live on her own. Like so many of the millennial generation, nationally 1/3 of every one of that generation live at home with their mother and father. In New Jersey, it is 47%. In 2016, my daughter voted for the first time. She would tell you that election did not go the way that she wanted. But she voted, and she fell in love with democracy, and she found her way. She chose a career, and she chooses to pursue a career in law and to advocate for public policy, for change so that her generation will have the opportunities that our generation were so benefited by. In recent years, we have seen so many states enact laws that restrict that voting right that is so cherished and that she experienced and fell in love with democracy because of. Make no mistake, these voter suppression laws are discriminatory, un-American, and wrong. Far too often, our nation has tolerated a creeping attack on this most hallowed and cherished right. Yet here in New Jersey, we led the way with an unprecedented effort to expand voting rights via the Democracy Act. Unfortunately, that legislation was vetoed. But this issue is too important to just give up. Voting rights are the cornerstone of our democracy, one which many Americans have quite literally sacrificed their lives to protect. This is a time more than ever that citizens need to feel connected to their government, that they can affect change. Even when their candidate loses, they must feel that their vote counts. New Jersey must continue to lead the way in protecting voting rights and expanding the opportunity of its people to vote through common sense ideas that modernize our outdated laws, like early voting, automatic voter registration, same-day registration. The beauty of our democracy is that all votes are equal. One person, one vote. You can clap for that, that's okay. Speaking of equality, I was also blessed to have twins, my son Eric and my daughter Jenna. crying because it was the scariest day of our life. But in 5.5 years, they will graduate from college. Their future should be based on their abilities and their skills, their work ethic, not their gender. When I dream of their future, I do not see a statistic or a number. Unfortunately, over the last decade, we have seen mountains of data showing a disturbing truth. It is a travesty that in 2018, women will still receive less compensation than men for equal work. Here in New Jersey, a white woman makes 80 cents for every dollar that her male counterpart earns. African American women make 58 cents for every dollar, and Latino women make just 43 cents to every dollar. Yet we have led the way in efforts to try to close this wage gap. We passed historic pay equity legislation that was not signed into law. Some of our efforts, like bringing transparency to whether public contractors provide equal work for equal pay, were vetoed. But as I stand here today as a father, I refuse to believe that my daughter Jenna's values is 80% of that of her brothers. I love them equally, and I want them to be treated equally. Can we agree as Democrats and Republicans to work on a plan for pay equity in New Jersey, in our state, to lead the way for our nation? Can every young woman like Jenna in this state dream of a future where she will be treated as an equal to her brother? On behalf of my children, on behalf of our children, we will not turn back and we will do what is right. New Jersey will continue to lead the way on this issue until we make sure that the gender wage gap is the relic of history that it deserves. Finally, we have seen the terrible crisis of gun violence sweep our nation. Began in Columbine, saw it at Virginia Tech, Tucson, Aurora, Sandy Hook Elementary, Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church, the Pulse nightclub, Sutherland Springs, Las Vegas. This list continues to grow. The names are seared into our consciousness. They represent schools and supermarkets, movie theaters, places of entertainment, houses of worship. More importantly, they represent families and communities that have been ripped apart, victims of senseless, unimaginable pain and needless suffering. They represent the failure of leaders to heed the warning of the victims and effect the necessary public policy. There are those who say that we cannot find common sense ways to reduce gun violence and save the lives in our community. There are those that say as long as there is evil in this world, these mass shootings will continue. I would say to those people that we must face the inevitable political consequences to do what is right and not what is easy. This Bible This is my parents' Bible. I've lost both of them. This was given to my mother in 1977. I keep this Bible on my desk in the majority office, and like many legislators, we meet with constituents all the time. One of the most compelling moments in my 22 years in public life was when the parents of Sandy Hook came to meet with me. They met with me in my office. They asked to pray over this Bible, and they handed me the pictures of their beautiful children, remarkable children, children just like yours and mine, class pictures, children playing in their Easter outfits or in their team uniform. You and I, we all have these pictures at home. And as the father of one of the children who lost their life in the shooting at Sandy Hook said to me, I used to come home from work and sit on my sofa and watch the news. And I would see these horrible tragedies of a shooting in a movie theater, and I'd say a quiet prayer, but I would then rush up to continue my life and take my son to soccer practice. He said, I will never do that again. He said, the greatest thing we can do to stop this violence, the single most important piece of legislation we can do is to limit the capacity of those magazine clips, not take the right away of a single gun owner, not infringe on a single amendment right, never tamper with the Second Amendment, but find common sense approaches so that no other family will suffer this pain. Gun violence is not about statistics or abstract arguments. It is about countless lives that have needlessly been cut short because far too many public policy makers have failed to find the courage to act. I made a promise to those parents. I refuse to look those families in the eye and tell them that we are powerless, that their loved ones were a tragic but necessary loss. No loss to gun violence is ever necessary. We can do more, and we will do more. New Jersey has led the way in the response to these awful tragedies, proposing historic gun safety reform legislation. Some of these efforts have become law in a bipartisan effort. That is an important thing to note. That is not happening around the country. That is not happening in Washington. It is happening here in New Jersey. Some of those laws, like strengthening mental health background checks, have become law. New Jersey must continue to lead the way in comprehensive background checks and safety training and public health research about gun violence and keeping firearms out of the hands of domestic abusers and in so much more. This package of bills provides the balance of the Second Amendment with common sense, rational approaches to stop this madness. Just yesterday, our legislature understood this. We passed legislation to ban bump stocks. Most of us never heard of bump stocks. Most of us had never heard of bump stocks until the tragedy in Las Vegas. But together, we reasoned that no one should be able to inflict that amount of carnage in that short period of time. We came together as a legislature and passed unanimously a bill that said enough is enough. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think these goals are lofty. I think they're vital, and I know we can accomplish them. We cannot turn back. We have to go forward. I believe in the members of this delegation and their readiness to tackle the task at hand. And I believe in the people of New Jersey, who, despite troubles in Washington, elected the most progressive, middle-class, focused legislature in New Jersey in decades. But I caution my friends in the Democratic Party. This is not a mandate for one party over the other, but instead it is an opportunity, and it is an opportunity to listen to all the people, and to make change for all of the people. We can do these things together. When it comes to public policy challenges, we must resolve to never take no for an answer and be committed to finding solutions to today's problems, no matter where we find them. Change begins right here, not with sound bites or slogans, but with remarkable citizen legislators and even more remarkable men and women across this great state, the people that we serve and those that we're not afraid to dream. These challenges will not be easy to solve. They have existed for generations, but I refuse to believe that there is a problem that can't be solved by working together. I hope that you will accept this challenge. Thank you, God bless you, and may God continue to bless the great state of New Jersey.